Good evening. Wonderful. My name is Ingrid Cole, and I'm the Director of People and Culture here at Everyday Independence, and we are so excited to welcome you this evening to our Everyday Clinical Careers Graduate Program evening. This is probably the evening I get most excited about because you will hear me say future fit practitioners a number of times tonight. Our sector is changing and transforming in overall the most wonderful and positive ways, and it is our new graduates that are going to be the workforce of the future. So we spend a tremendous amount of time working with our future workforce because we do really believe that this is going to be the magic thing that is going to support us to really revolutionise our workforce, which ultimately revolutionises outcomes for people living in a disability within the Australian community. So it is, we often say, time to change the game, and at Everyday Independence we are hoping to do that. We'll move to the next slide, please, Flick, and I would like to start this evening by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd really like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people as the first people of Australia. We always have a welcome to country at Everyday Independence, and then the second thing that we do at Everyday Independence is that we remind everybody of our why. So our why is what anchors us in our purpose and our mission to change the game for Australian communities. So Flick, if we go to the next slide, which is actually also on my screen tonight as well, is our why at Everyday Independence, or we can often call it our promise or our mission, is that every day we strive to lead and support individuals, families, communities, and our nation to be global leaders for inclusion. And we introduced this new why about 5 years ago now because we really felt that the bar for people with a disability, or the bar for our communities as a whole, really wasn't set high enough. And we really want to change the way that not only lives can look like for people living with a disability, but the way that the whole of Australia thinks about disability, because I hope that you will see tonight that the potential of our communities to really change and transform lives is no better time than now. And a huge reason for that is NDIS. But another really big reason for that is that we now know how to build supports around people that enables them to meet their potential. So we're really excited to share a little bit of our enthusiasm with you this evening. Flick, next slide, please. Aren't I lucky in introducing to you everybody Flick, who's helping me with my slides tonight. So everything we do at Everyday Independence, as I said, is driven by our why, but is absolutely underpinned by our values. And our values are really built on a social model of disability, and our values really speak to all stakeholders. So whether you are an employee at Everyday Independence, or perhaps you're a participant that uses our services, the same values apply to all stakeholders. Because what we know is whether you're a new graduate, you are mid-career, you are utilising our services, that everybody really wants to build skills, wants to build confidence, they have personalised goals that they're working towards, and that relationships and being someone, belonging somewhere and becoming somebody is important to us all. So our values are deeply based in these concepts. We want to change the game. We want to inspire with belief. We really do need to support people, and graduates are absolutely at the heart of this, supporting you to really believe in yourself in that first year. Champion the person is all about person-centered practice. And then we have some other values which are about simplifying and going, which means, let's remove the noise and get down to being an allied health professional and being part of a team, one team with purpose. It doesn't matter what you do here at Everyday Independence. Your role is to support your team members and the people that we support to become global leaders for inclusion. So that's our values, and hopefully you will see them shine through tonight. You will see them on people's backgrounds as they speak tonight. If you have values, and I think at every stage of career it's important, but it is no more important when you're in that first year of your career. If you can utilise values as first principles to enable you to make decisions, to enable you to really dig in and work through that cognitive load that often happens in your first year, you're going to be able to find it's so much easier because values are guiding principles that are going to help you along that way. So I'm going to start with, we might stay on this slide, Flick. I'm going to start with telling you about a story rather than sort of kill you with a big PowerPoint presentation per se, but I'm going to speak with you for maybe another 10 minutes or so about what it can really look like at Everyday Independence. And then I'm going to introduce you to our incredible panel tonight that is going to bring this evening to life. But I wanted to start with telling you about a person that I worked with, and his name was Charlie. And Charlie came to see me a number of years ago now, and he came with his mum, and Charlie is 18 years of age. He lives with autism spectrum disorder and a moderate intellectual disability. And he came to see me with his mum and an assistance dog. And what Charlie wanted was a mini tramp because he wanted to use that for exercise. Now, I worked out pretty quickly that Charlie was using the mini tramp for much more than just exercise. He was using it to self-regulate. He was using it as a way to communicate with people. There were lots of things that he was doing. So I could already see there was so much more than going on than just needing to prescribe a piece of exercise equipment. And I said to Mum, Charlie was 18, what's Charlie going to do when he finishes school next year? And Mum said, oh, well, I think what's going to happen is I'll give up work and I'll look after Charlie because we've tried a few different programs and Charlie hates day program. And I, often get a bit excited about things. And I said, but isn't Charlie going to work? And Mum looked at me really quite defeated. And she said, Charlie has autism and an intellectual disability, you know. And I said, oh, absolutely. But there's so much that Charlie can do as well. What other options could we support you to explore? Now, please remember that this was a mum that had an 18-year-old son that had been conditioned pre-NDIS to believe that there weren't reasonable and necessary supports necessarily out there for adults living with autism and intellectual disability. But we now had the NDIS. And so we started to learn about what does Charlie enjoy, what's Charlie good at, what does Charlie like. Now, I mentioned that Charlie came in with his dog. Charlie had a real affinity for animals. And to really jump to more towards the end of the story, Charlie started working with his uncle in his uncle's veterinary clinic. Charlie today is in his early, nearly mid-20s. He works 30 hours a week in a veterinary clinic, and he is a taxpayer. Charlie's mum continued to stay in employment, and she is a taxpayer as well. She's a mortgage holder. She is a mum that can actually afford to take Charlie on holidays and continue to provide for Charlie. The alternative was that Charlie and his mum were both going to be on welfare and in a rental accommodation, and mum wondering, what am I going to do when I'm no longer here to care for Charlie? So they have occupations in life, they have purpose in life, they have things that they're really proud of. So that's great. That's a great win for humankind. But there's also another win. If Charlie's mum had given up work and to look after Charlie, we actually know from the research that the health outcomes would have been very different. There would have been other comorbidities most likely associated with their life. And I normally ask my team members, and what do you think the cost would have been to the Australian government or economy to look after Charlie and his mum? And it would have been somewhere between $4 and $8 million over the cost of Charlie's lifetime. So they have a greater quality of life because of what's happened, but also they are taxpayers, they are adding money to the GDP, the global domestic product, and they are also not living on welfare, costing taxpayers between $4 and $8 million because Charlie's going to work for about 40 years, mum's going to continue to work for another 30 years. So it is a huge win-win for not only the economy and the Australian community, but also for humankind. And that's why we get so passionate about the model in which we work, because if Charlie had just got a mini tramp, which I could have prescribed, he would have a very different life to what he has now. And we did that by delivering a whole interdisciplinary team of therapists working in the everyday way. So that's how we work at Everyday Independence, and that's the type of wins that we celebrate regularly. So let's go to the next slide, please, Flick. I've described for you probably more through storytelling tonight, the everyday way. This is the way that we work with people. And if you were to join Everyday Independence, this is the way in which you would be trained. In a model that works in interdisciplinary teams, that supports the foundations of building skills and routines and doing it in a very cost-effective way. And in a social model of practice, which is where we don't look at what people like Charlie can't do, but we look at rather what people like Charlie and his mum can do. And even when I think about Charlie now, his mother told me once that he wanted to spend Christmas with his friends rather than her. And she was a bit upset about it, but we did have a giggle because we thought how age appropriate for a 22-year-old male to want to hang out with friends, which he wouldn't have had if she'd given up work to look after him, rather than hanging out with his mother. So the fact that we were able to change the attitudes of the people around him and create a full life for him is, nothing short of, just so rewarding. And then we always have to use evidence-based practice and, quantitative measures and qualitative measures. And at Everyday Independence, we exclusively have the LEAD tool, which our graduates are trained in very, very early in their career. So the everyday way, and Flick, if we move into the next slide, is absolutely what the NDIA and the NDIS is telling us that they're looking for. If you are going to work in disability, this is the future. We have been across the globe, we have curated the best evidence, but pulled it into a model which is meaningful and a way in which you can work. But it's important for practitioners, right? Because they know the framework in which to work. But ultimately, it is super important for our participants because they can then buy well. They can buy evidence-based practice. They can buy therapy that actually gets them really great outcomes. And they're going to be able to use their funding in more, in smarter and more impactful ways. So Charlie is just one example, but to have young people now that are born today and we can actually say to them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Knowing that that is very realistic to ask that question, perhaps compared to 10 years ago, pre-NDIS, you couldn't ask a young child with a moderate to severe disability what they wanted to be when they grew up because there wasn't the supports available. We now have the funding and we now have the therapeutic knowledge to be able to deliver that. So that's, super, super exciting, especially if you're just about to embark on this is your career. Next slide, please, Flick. So how do we do it? I'm going to tell you a little bit how we do it very broadly, and then I'm going to hand over to our incredible panel tonight. We need to have change makers that can lead the charge for positive change. We need to be thought leaders. We need to get out there. We need to be great teachers, great mentors, and great influencers. So Everyday Independence is very proud to be very much represented at many industry events and conferences. And just this week, happy OT week, I must say to the OTs that are here on screen tonight. Our OTs are really busy submitting abstracts for the OT conference that is coming up next year. So it is about delivering services, but it's also about building and developing foundational knowledge to drive our professions and our careers forward. So we've got great leaders. How else do we do it? Let's move to the next slide. We have clinical career pathways. So it's always been really clear that there's great career opportunity working in the NDIS and working at Everyday Independence. But I think what hasn't been so great in the past is you can see where you want to go, but all the steps you need to take to get there hasn't always been super clear for a lot of professionals. So at Everyday Independence, this is far too much detail for this slide, but we now have programs and steps where people can actually curate their own career. And you're going to hear about that tonight. So it really is about where your locus of influence is. When you're a new graduate, you will just start working on your personal craft and really being a part of your team and working with your participants. But as you develop your career, we're hoping that we can, develop those leaders and those change makers so you can go out there and actually impact society and the sector as well. So lots there. But we're going to demonstrate to you tonight about how you can get there if that's something that you're inclined to do. And then probably what is more pertinent, which is on the next slide, is that, remember I said that our values and everything is really deeply steeped in social model practice. For us, it is all about person-centered practice. So when we work with participants, they are firmly at the centre and we build the supports around them. But I also said that our employees are the same as participants, building skills, building confidence, having goals, wanting to learn. So as a new graduate, you are firmly at the centre and we build the skills and the scaffolding around you to support you to go out there and really build your skills and confidence about what it means to be a practitioner as a new graduate, but also into the future. So we don't have time to go through all of this tonight, but we certainly do have things like those things that will be really quite familiar to you, which is one-to-one mentoring, lots and lots of shadowing and observation. Doesn't matter how long you've been at Everyday Independence, you shadow and observe. Sally, who you're going to hear from tonight, has been here for 30 years. She still enjoys shadowing and observing. But we've got a whole bunch of other things that are going to be really important. So we do things around work-life balance training. Everyday therapy mentoring is actually a digital style of mentoring where you can drop into a Teams room and get you can ask questions and get knowledge from really experienced clinicians. So you're not just in your hub, you can benefit from the whole organisation. We have communities of practice and we also have career coaching, which is very exclusive to our organisation. We're super, super proud of it. And you're going to hear about career coaching, which is perhaps the highlight of tonight's event. We can't jam all of this into one event, but please know that we have been supporting graduates. We were the very first private organisation to go out and support graduates. We've been doing it for about, I'm going to say 10, maybe even up to 12 years now. And we actually received criticism for it at the time. It was like, graduates can't work in this space, and absolutely they can. And now you'll see that there's lots of opportunities for graduates in this space. But it's about having the right scaffold around you. And it's about having just enough support. So we really welcome you having a go, leaning into being comfortable with being uncomfortable, but knowing that you'll be really well supported when you perhaps need some support and assistance. And working in an interdisciplinary team means that you're rarely alone. So you're working alongside other members of the team as well. So a really person-centered approach to how we support you and support you to really challenge yourself in that first year. So you're going to hear from some of our panel tonight that have been graduates at Everyday Independence and are now also developing into supporting graduates as well. So it's really exciting to see that transformation. So let's go to our panel. I'm really, really excited to welcome our panel tonight. To the next slide, please, Flick. I am going to, I skipped a slide. I'll just race through this book. Sorry, Flick. No, please come back to this slide. I got a bit excited in introducing the panel, but we've already talked through many of these things. As a graduate, we are going to give people the opportunity to try lots and lots of different things. And what's really important about doing that is you'll love some, you'll like some, and you won't be too keen on others. So how do you work with your team leader and your team members to really lean into the things that light you up and bring you joy? Because we know that if people are growing and learning and developing, but they do things that they're passionate about, they drive really great outcomes for customers. So, for example, as you can probably tell with Charlie, I'm really passionate about developing really great outcomes that can showcase, the potential of the NDIS. I get passionate about that, so I've really lent into that. But other people get really passionate about, perhaps working in home modifications, for example. So you try lots of different things, and then we will work with you to explore what those clinical career pathways are, and then how you access the learning and the opportunities to develop your skills in those areas. So year one is all about trying lots of different things, reflecting on what you love and what you don't like, reflecting on what you're good at and what you're not good at, and then really unlocking that clinical passion. So that will be showcased for you this evening with the panel. I think we're now at the panel slide. I do hope so. We are. Awesome. So I'm going to introduce you tonight. I am going to do it one by one, but Sally Smith, Gemma Stoas, and Kelly Tan have joined us this evening. I'm going to start with Sally this evening. We'll then move on to Gemma and then Kelly. But Sally, we are so thrilled to have you here this evening. Sally and I have worked together for many, many years. We actually presented a course together just yesterday. And I must say, Sally did 95% of it and I did 5% of it. So I can say this. Sally was scored by the people on the course as a 9.4 out of 10. So super impactful coaching course that Sally ran yesterday at Everyday Independence, which will no doubt multiply across our organisation. But Sally, first and foremost, is an OT. She has a broad range of areas that she's worked in for nearly 30 years, from children right through to aged care, acute inpatient settings, community rehab, and over the years, I'd say specialising in neuropsychiatry and ultimately is the disability guru now. And Sally's been with Everyday Independence for more than 10 years and is our very own in-house career coach. And I will say incredibly popular. I saw your calendar today, Sally, because I was trying to book in with you and you're booked out for quite some time. But you support team members to define their career goals and really create plans for their own professional growth and learning. So we might move to the next slide, Flick, because that will introduce Sally as well. But Sally, a huge welcome. If I may, I'm going to start by asking you some questions tonight, and then I know that you can absolutely talk freely about it. You joined us more than a decade ago now. Can you believe that? We're coming up for, some long service. But can you tell us what attracted you back then? And do you still see those things at EI today?
Oh, Ingrid, I think this is such a great question, and it's hard to believe it's been so long, to be honest. When I joined EI, it looks so different to what it does now. We were just two teams, both of them in Victoria. And, now, as you know, we've grown to about 40 hubs across Australia. So huge changes over that time. And it was also prior to the rollout of the NDIS as well. So our focus was quite different back then. What attracted me originally were definitely the people, the leadership, innovation, passion to make a difference and to do things better. I was interviewed by Leanne Healy, who's the founder and CEO of EI, and she's really stood out to me as being genuine, visionary, inspiring and passionate about making a difference. And she really thought outside the box. Now, I knew this about Leanne because I knew her before I was interviewed by her. I first met her when I was a rehabilitation coordinator at the TAC, and I actually used to refer clients to her for these exact reasons. I knew she could do amazing things and she could get great outcomes for the people that she supported. And one of the things I remember really well, Ingrid, is the exclamation I heard several times from one of my bosses when reading a report by Leanne. She would say, "Oh, Leanne, I'll do that." Needless to say, Leanne was not deterred because Leanne is a very passionate advocate for every person that she supports. She always stands by what she believes in, and it's inclusion and a better world. She hasn't changed.
I was going to say, she hasn't changed. She's delivered that social model, hasn't she, Sally, which is all about I can.
Exactly. Yeah. She has not changed at all. And honestly, I was going to add that her legacy can really be seen throughout EI now, like, the values, the progression, the excellence, the innovation that we've got. So she really is very much a part of the DNA of EI. So that's what drew me in. And the things that have kept me here are really the same things. It is the leadership, it's the alignment of EI's values. Like you were mentioning, the importance of that. It really was the alignment of EI's values and vision with my own. And this has not changed at all over the time that I've been here. And it's really significant when I think about it because before I joined EI, I used to change jobs pretty much every couple of years. And I've been here for 10 years and it doesn't seem that long. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One is that I really do love all the EI values, particularly champion the person, which is on my background tonight. And that really extends to not just participants, but also all team members. So it's a real difference. And we've got the no blame culture, nothing about me without me philosophies, which creates such a psychologically safe work environment to grow and to learn and develop, which I've done a lot of learning. We're always learning, never ending. And there's endless learning and growth opportunities, which allow you to explore so many different things I've tried most of them. There's still a few I haven't tried, and I'm keen to keep doing that. And there's also the flexibility in hours, location, the roles we can do in the career pathways. There's so many different things that make it such an exciting place to be.
Yeah.
So I guess,
Fantastic.
yeah, that's
No, fantastic. And thank you. And you have done lots of things. You've been in both operational pathways and clinical pathways, which really is a testament to your ability to career coach, because you're able to say to people, you've got deep knowledge of what the opportunities are for people in terms of their career. And Sally's daughter did the English exam today. So she's also got a year 12 student that she's supporting, and she's turned up tonight. So huge thank you. And Sally, I'm going to actually ask you a little bit more about that concept, actually. So you've worn a number of hats at Everyday Independence over the years, but right now, probably what you're most well known for, apart from your incredible OT skills, is that of being a career coach. So can you tell us what career coaching involves, and what does it look like for the practitioners and the therapists at Everyday Independence?
Yeah, of course. So career coaching is something I'm very passionate about, and it's a service that we offer to everyone at EI, regardless of what their role might be. And basically what you look at is we provide a service where we support people to look at their career through a big picture lens and identify their goals, and then really look at the focusing on the steps that they need to achieve those goals. It's highly individualized, so it looks a little bit different to everyone depending on what their needs are at the time. But there's a few key elements that are probably worth noting. It's always a confidential conversation. It always focuses on you, not you, Ingrid, but the person I'm speaking with at the time, and what they want to explore.
You are my coach.
This is true. It focuses on you sometimes, okay?
Okay.
It's usually run on Teams. Sometimes it's face-to-face, but mostly on Teams because, as you know, we're national, so it's pretty hard for me to meet everyone face-to-face. And it can run anything from 30 minutes to sometimes up to 2 hours I've had sessions with, which has been amazing. And people can book as many sessions as they like. It's probably a few things that are really good for people to know about it is that it provides a safe space. Its focus is on you. Its focus is on your goals, your aspirations, your strengths, your future, and your potential. And it's there as a special time for you to really focus on what your needs are so that you can connect with yourself, gain clarity and some self-awareness. And it's interesting that many people have actually said that they leave feeling like they've been a bit like they've been to a day spa, relaxed, empowered, and energized. And look, as a coach, I really have support people to identify who they are, what's most important to them, and we partner together to figure out how they're going to achieve those things.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's another form of self-care, really, isn't it? In terms of, but a very productive, proactive style. But people come to you, and I know this because I've done it myself, I speak with others, but come to you for so many different reasons. And they come to you at different stages in their career as well. Can you just, for our audience tonight, I know there's too many, but can you just tell us some of the things that people might find career coaching helpful for?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many different reasons, as you said, Ingrid, and there's no real rules around it too. I'd say there's probably some common reasons that I see. People come and see me because they may be unsure about where they want their career to take them next, and they want some support just designing the best career pathway for them that aligns with their strengths and aspirations and is in line with their work and their life. Sometimes it's about supporting them to progress along the pathway that they're already on. They might have seen a role that they want to apply for and figure out the best way of getting there. Sometimes it's just because they want to be the best that they can be in their current role, or that they've started a new role and they just want to set themselves up for success. And the things that they kind of sometimes they might come to is it's looking at different learning opportunities that we have, internal, external things that they should be doing for themselves. It might also be about how they can maintain a sustainable work-life balance so they can bring their best selves to work and to life each day. And I guess the last thing that I probably do with people is really we do a lot of grow plans, which in other places are known as professional development plans. And we just bring them to life with strategies to help them achieve the goals that are on there. I just think it's really good to know too that using a coach approach has long been recognised as a key evidence-based strategy to accelerate work performance. And we did an internal study earlier this year and we had 104 respondents, and they basically confirmed that fact because 100% of the people recognised the value. People reported so many different benefits, things like faster career progression and promotion, greater job and life satisfaction, well-being, increased self-confidence, optimism, and sense of control. So really confirmed through that survey.
Yeah, fantastic. And what an amazing outcome. And to think that people can feel that in their life, to then only think about the way that they can go out and then interact and impact with others, the multiplying effect is quite incredible.
Yeah.
So, Sally, I do have one more question for you this evening. Or do I? I'm just checking. I feel like I think I wanted you, yeah, I did. I wanted you to give me some examples. So you've told me about what you did, but I wrote down, I want some examples of maybe a couple of people that you've actually supported and what's it looked like for them.
Yeah, and look, I'm really glad you gave me some warning about this question because I've got so many examples. I could have spoken all night, but I will just give you two. There are two people that I have worked with for quite a few years, and without mentioning any names, of course, there was an OT who joined EI as a new graduate, and she discovered a passion for providing functional housing and support needs assessments. She had a vision for EI being the best in the world, with supporting people living with a disability in accessing appropriate supported independent living options and specialist disability accommodation. Over the time I worked with her, she progressed into clinical leadership roles. She later became the member of the clinical excellence team, and later she was the lead in functional assessments. She was instrumental in designing and delivering training for everyone across EI, and she advocated within the NDIS for our participants, making some changes. So that was very exciting for her. And you asked me for another example, so I'll give you one more and then I'll stop.
I could talk all day about the examples, but only one more. Otherwise we'll be here till midnight.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's me too. I get excited.
So another new graduate she went on a very different pathway. So she had a vision for operational leadership. And over the years we worked together. She progressed from a purely clinical role into a team leader role. Then she moved into an area lead role and ultimately into a regional lead role. And my support with these people and that these two amazing people was just really to help them to realize their vision so they could see where they wanted to go and then achieve their potential. And they came to me to spend time reflecting, to reconnect with themselves and to identify their next steps to go forward. And just by doing that, they achieved absolutely incredible things.
And I suspect I know both people who you spoke about, Sally, and they are remarkable humans, which is an absolute testament to our culture. So thank you so much for supporting them, but also speaking with us tonight. Please hang around because hopefully we're going to have some time for questions at the end, and people might want to hear more about career coaching. So we're going to move across to Gemma now. Gemma is one of our incredible OT change makers. Gemma joined us in February 2022. So look, that's over a year and a half now that Gemma joined us. I can't believe how quickly the time has flown. And you joined us at our Wyndham hub, I think, after completing a Bachelor of OT at Deakin University. So you could have gone Wyndham, Geelong, or anywhere else across the country. But Gemma, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to ask you a question tonight that I often ask a lot of our panel guests. I'm really keen to hear from you because I do get a variety of responses. What were the critical things that attracted you most to Everyday Independence when you were looking for the right graduate program for you back in early 2022?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it's coming up to 2 years, Ingrid. It's flown by, actually. But I can't quite remember if it was in my third year of uni or my final year, but we actually had a panel of presenters in one of our seminars, similar to sort of what we have tonight, but from all different organisations. And Ingrid, you actually presented. And at this point, I was very unsure about what OT pathway I wanted to end up in and explore. But I think what really inspired me about your presentation and everyday independence was the concepts that I'd never really heard of, which was social model and the capacity building approach. So, you know, as I said, I had never heard of them before. Done 4 years of uni, but they'd never popped up. But they really aligned with my personal values because they're all about the powerful and lifelong impact of supporting participation in meaningful life tasks, working within people's natural environments with resources that they already have, and really skill building and working with their supports to create capable environments for them to actually learn in. And I thought that was pretty special and just concepts that I'd never even really considered. So that was what kind of drew me in. But I think as well, at university, I really struggled with my work-life balance, or maybe study-life balance. And I think the flexible working hours, as Sally's already sort of touched on, really interested me about EI. And especially now, you know, almost 2 years on, I just really love the autonomy that I have over my calendar, and picking the hours that I work and when I book my appointments too. I think another thing that was a big stressor was the kind of support that I would receive. And again, Sally sort of already touched on this, but I think something that I really value at EI is the one-on-one mentoring opportunities, the variety of lunch and learn opportunities that are casual, but we're still able to make a really big impact. And so many internal PDs, whether it's self-directed or in group settings. And I think as well for me, you're right, I'm at the Wyndham office and I live 3 minutes away from work. So that's pretty special too, and definitely makes it easy to maintain that positive work-life balance.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I did hear you mention, you know, stresses a few times and how you've overcome them, which is not uncommon to hear from any person that is working and, you know, really leaning into their work. But it is very common to hear that often from new graduates or people that are transitioning from university into their first, I'm going to say real job, because we've all done some work often when we've been at uni. And Gemma, I frequently hear the term a sense of imposter syndrome, or there's a real sense of imposter syndrome and an overwhelm when you're transitioning from uni into that first time real job. And we're really, really conscious of that at Everyday Independence about how that can feel. But tell us tonight, what did that situation feel like for you? And then how did you overcome that, or what was helpful in that situation?
Yeah, this topic resonates with me a lot. Imposter syndrome is a concept that I'd heard of at uni, and I guess they'd kind of briefed us on, but you're right, I'd never actually experienced it until working full time. And for me, it was a really scary and just bizarre experience because, you know, on one hand, I'm well aware that I've completed the necessary training and I've got my qualification to do what I'm here to do. But on the other hand, I don't really feel ready to work autonomously yet. And I think that's how I would describe my experience. But I've worked with some amazing mentors and even just peers that I've come across, whether it's in my hub or, you know, in others. And some really great advice that sounds very cliche, but is really true, is just slowing things down and trusting the process. I think as therapists in general, but particularly as new grads or early career clinicians, we really, whether we know it or not or realize it or not, we actually seek out instant gratification in a lot of situations where, you know, we want to feel successful by quick changes and seeing quick progress. That's not the reality of the disability sector. And it probably took me a good 6 to 12 months to actually, you know, find my feet, get into a routine and actually be at ease with the fact that, we're here to make lifelong changes. We're not here to make changes that just happen overnight. So yeah, I think as well, along with that, just classic social model theory is that people that we're working with are actually the experts in their own life. So something that, because unfortunately, I still do experience imposter syndrome every now and then, but I think some strategies that I have are to remind myself of this great advice, but also remind myself that I'm here as a facilitator and not as an expert. And it's okay to be still learning, because that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. And we want people with a disability, or the people that we support, to get out there and have a go and make mistakes and work out what works for them and what doesn't work for them, exactly the same way with our team members as well, and our graduates. So we can take measured risks and have that dignity of risk. But I think you're absolutely right. When you work in the disability sector, there's time and space. If we use the example of Charlie that we opened with tonight, it wasn't all linear, straight up the hill. There were things that didn't work and things that did, but to then have that overall outcome, or to support somebody when perhaps they're at their lowest, that's also really incredible, isn't it? So thanks for leaning into that, because we all feel it to some degree, and it's really helpful to know how you've worked through it. So let's talk about one of the things we get super passionate about tonight, Gemma, which is participants. Can you tell us about a participant that you're working with at the moment, and what's been their therapy journey, and how have you supported them working in an interdisciplinary team?
I think similar to Sally, we're all very motivated by this topic, so we could all probably talk about it for a very long time. But someone that came to mind was an 11-year-old girl that I'm supporting with one of our lovely speechies. So she lives with an intellectual disability and autism spectrum disorder. And she's got goals around self-care, particularly showering. So previously, this young girl was refusing to shower. She didn't have a showering routine, and she required physical support from her mum for every single step involved in showering, which was causing a lot of stress on mum. So after some skill building with this young person, and also capacity building the mum to understand her sensory preferences, her communication methods, the speech and I actually decided, we reflected and we realized that although they've got the skills and the tools to kind of work with, we weren't always seeing carryover when we weren't there. So what we thought to trial was Habit Coach. They've got the flexibility of having more frequent sessions with this family, and I guess at the end of the day, really supporting them to create and develop a predictable showering routine. Fast forward to now, this young girl is completing all steps of showering independently, which has had a massive positive impact. Yeah, massive positive impact on her self-confidence. But it's also significantly reduced the care burden that mum was experiencing, as you could imagine. I think one of the most important impacts is that it's actually facilitated a more positive relationship between mum and daughter, because there's no arguments, or minimal arguments, I guess, at shower time, because she knows when that's actually happening now, which is pretty cool.
That's such a good story. And, those things to many of us, for our audience tonight, think about what it would mean to you if you had to ask somebody every day to support you with your shower. It's such an impactful thing. But Gemma, I don't know this participant, but the fact that they can now shower independently, just humor me for a moment. What does this make possible for them now? Like, what are the next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, it's had a massive impact on her confidence. But I think the greatest impact on her journey so far is that she's actually now quite independent with her morning routine, and engaging and participating in that morning routine, and is engaging in tasks that support her self-regulation. So this has really positively impacted her school attendance, because previously there was a lot of refusal. And because she's engaging in this really positive morning routine, she's actually there ready to learn. So I think, it's not until we actually reflect on maybe the work that we've done and the work that these people put in to achieve their goals or progress to their goals. But thinking about this, this story really made me reflect on the fact that we're actually here and impacting people's everyday life. And I think a lot of people can't actually say that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyday life and whole of life. So if we take a child that chooses to go to school or not to go to school, what does that mean for their relationships? What does that mean for their education, their employment, the justice system, welfare system? So yeah, thank you so much. We don't have time tonight, but I'm sure I could ask you, what does that make possible for her 5 times, and you'd get to some incredible quality of life outcomes. So congratulations and thank you. Now, you have been creating a Grow Plan with Sally. What did that process look like, and what's been the impact for you going through that process?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I was initially quite unsure about the Grow Plan sessions and just what it involved. I think it was a little bit of a daunting consideration for me to start thinking about how I wanted to grow and progress my career since I had just graduated. It was a little bit overwhelming, and I think that that's partially because I didn't necessarily understand at the time what it could offer me or how it could benefit me as an early career clinician. But probably, within less than 5 minutes of chatting with Sal about the reason behind why I became an OT and what is actually important to me, I was able to really reflect and better understand my own values and what it is that I love to do, which was awesome. And we've already spoken a lot about Sal, but I think her motivational interviewing skills are just amazing. They always, it's just, next to none. But I think that the conversation really highlighted how much I value my relationships, whether it's with participants or, my peers or colleagues, working in an interdisciplinary team, which is really important for me to learn off other disciplines as well and get their expertise, and solving problems as a team. So I think previously I really pressured myself to kind of specialize and consider the idea of specializing into a particular area. And I think that's probably because at the time, a lot of the OTs that I came in contact with, whether it was at my office or, elsewhere, or even friends that, moved on to different places, they were all considering what area of OT they wanted to go into and explore. And a lot of people were asking me that question, what are you going to specialize in? What does this look like for you? But I think that the conversation and all of the conversations I've had throughout my Grow Plan with Sal have really helped me to realize that with my skill set and with my values, the core OT space is actually probably where I'll thrive and, enjoy the most. And I think that for me, the biggest impact that these sessions have had is that it's kind of given me permission to just be at ease with that and feel confident with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the specialist disability occupational therapist, but other core is absolutely happening as well. So this concept around a specialist generalist is you're making it happen, Gemma, before the term's even there. So you girls are both leading the way. So
there we go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I could continue to speak to you all evening, but we are going to move to Kelly now. Kelly is one of our incredible game-changing speech pathologists. Kelly's on the other side of the city. We have everybody mostly from Melbourne tonight, actually. I can't believe it. Normally we're scattered across the country, but Kelly joined Everyday Independence in 2021 in August, so a little over a year ago now. And you did the Masters of Speech Pathology at Melbourne Uni before joining us, didn't you, Kelly?
Yep.
Yeah, so huge welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm wondering, similar to what I asked Gemma, what were the critical things that brought you to Everyday Independence? Now, I've got down here over 2 years ago. So have you been 2021? Wow, I've lost a year. You've been with us for nearly 2 years.
I think it's like a little over 2 years. Yeah, I can't believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think it was just a year. What? sorry, I didn't mean to rob you of a year there. So 2 years ago now, thinking back, what were the critical things that brought you here for your graduate year?
Well, something that was definitely non-negotiable for me was to have a speechy mentor that I can go to. Being a new grad coming in here, all the experience that we have was placements. Like you go to your supervisor, or if you're placed together with your classmates, great, you get to bounce ideas and all and talk about clinical things. But it was really important for me to be able to have a speechy mentor. Even now, so I have my mentor that I meet regularly, so that you just have that professional support. We can talk about I guess the work-life balance as well, even in our day-to-day being speechies. So yeah. Another point being here as well, starting as a new grad, was that it was quite important to me to have the flexibility in my schedule. So you start off, I guess, being supported to build the caseload that you have, and it's a safe place to venture into the practice areas that you want to work in as a speechy. We have 6 practice areas in speech pathology, and coming in, being a student, you get a little sprinkle of each practice area to tick those boxes, but coming into Everyday Independence, you get to explore, what you want to work in. I remember coming in being really curious about AAC, so that's alternative and augmentative communication. So then I was supported to, get work with participants who need that support from us for an AAC device, for example. And I also really like that, you have the ownership of your own calendar. So you choose when you want to see the participant with the participant. You decide when you start your calendar, when you start your day, all of that. So yeah, those were the critical points coming in.
Fantastic. And I've seen you just flourish in terms of working with people with a disability over that time. And that's why I was thinking it's definitely more than a year. But you work in a social model here at Everyday Independence as a speech pathologist. Kelly, what do you enjoy about that?
I really love working in a team, ironically, because I am actually an introvert. I do really well one-to-one. But then being here in EI, Everyday Independence, we have so many amazing team members, OTs, physios, behavior practitioners even, and key workers who work with children in the younger space. And throughout my 2 years here, I get to work with every single one of them, just in a whole holistic team approach. For example, I have a participant, 51 years old, and she has cerebral palsy, but the behavior practitioner came back to us saying like, oh, we need support in figuring out what her strong vocalizations mean. So then me coming into a speechy role, I come in and figure out, look, can she communicate her needs and wants? For example, the OT comes in. How can we support mounting the AAC device, for example, and then the physio comes in as well, like, looking at range of motion, how is she going to access her device? So it's that whole kind of shared align and purpose that we have here in Everyday Independence. I think even one of the values to champion the person, one team with purpose, I think it truly resonates in us when we practice and see people every day too. So yeah.
It does. It really is the guiding principle about how we work with people, isn't it? Which is, is really, I find our graduates will often say to us, it's helpful. Not only does it drive culture, but it drives decision making and lets you know when to push at your edges and maybe when to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that does lead me to my third question for you tonight, is that, we saw that dial before, all of the supports around the person. There's lots of supports and lots of learning opportunities that are in place and very much part of the graduate program. But what did you value most in your graduate year?
I really liked that there was shadowing observations. Even, being a speechy, I get to observe physio sessions. I get to observe OT sessions. It really does help me to understand how we can work together as an interdisciplinary team. I also really liked how my team leader then, they really supported me with calendar management. Being a student then, you're given the schedule. okay, attend 5 days a week, for example, at this school, see this kid. Okay, great. But then now it's like, oh, okay, I need to manage my Outlook calendar, for example. So I was really, really fortunate to have such a supportive team leader, and she was really empathetic as well. Like, Kelly, are you okay? Checking in with me weekly, fortnightly. I also quite liked as well that well, my team leader, she said that it takes 6 months to get used to your calendar, but then for me, it actually took 12 months. And that is okay as well, because I am loving my job as a clinician. Being a new grad, then you also get to the KPIs, for example, like the hours that you have to hit for a week. You don't get thrown into needing to achieve a certain amount of hours. They do build up realistically, making sure that you have time to consolidate, let the information simmer, and essentially finding a working style that fits yourself as well. What you want as a clinician, what you want as well in your personal life, to have that work-life balance.
Yeah, which is so important, because we know that burnout is very real in allied health, and it's really important that we protect our allied health practitioners, and then in turn they can go out there and do the incredible work that we do. So you two have worked very closely with Sally, who spoke first tonight on our panel. What does career coaching look like for you? And Kelly, what has it actually meant to you?
Career coaching, when you have a session with Sally, it is, for me, an unbiased and safe place. You tell Sally what you would want in your work life, in your personal life, and then Sally would take that into consideration, discussing with you what does it look like in 5 years, for example. And in the career coaching sessions as well, I was also supported to identify my clinical goals. I know, having started as a new grad, I came in wanting to work on AAC and language and swallowing, but then throughout these 2 years, it's okay to have a change of mind in your goals. And Sally and we've actually worked on a grow plan together. So identifying what it would look like to achieve my goal now, climbing up the career path as a speechy clinician. I was an early career clinician specializing in AC, swallowing language, but then now I realize, like, look, why do I want to, why must I choose to specialize in certain areas? Why can't I be a core therapist? And then Sally's like, yeah, you can actually do that. I'm like, oh, great. So then we are currently working towards my goal of being a therapy mentor as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's so great. And I'm hearing some common themes here around this almost sort of compulsion for everybody to specialize. But if you look at it and you see somebody like Sally tonight, or myself, that's been doing this for a number of decades now, we've tried lots of different things, and it just seems outrageous for people to be expecting specialization within the first couple of years. So we absolutely want to find those things that light us up, but certainly people, especially living with a disability, that have an NDIS plan, they are whole people with whole of lives. So that ability to really dig in and specialize in what is such an important area. I'm really glad that you both got there. Not to say that if you stayed mad keen about AAC, we could have supported you down that pathway as well. So we are at 7:02. Kelly, thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm going to just share a few more slides with people. We will be here for only another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to move quite quickly through the last lot of slides, and we will be staying on for any questions. But I am hoping tonight that we have showcased for you about what a graduate experience in disability can look like. And people often say, why work in disability? And it is because we do fit the research. We can offer cause, we can offer community, and we can offer career. And we know that that's what people are looking for. But one of the things what I'm very proud of at Everyday Independence is that we do offer future fit practitioner learning. So I think it might have been Gemma that mentioned, this some of these social model concepts were a bit new at university. They're seeping into the university system, but it blows my mind that we're not training people more in this, because this is absolutely where the evidence is, and it's what the government is going to expect people to be purchasing. So if you want to learn the new, not necessarily the new way, but the way to be a therapist, train somewhere like Everyday Independence that is doing contemporary evidence-based practice, not what was sort of kicking around in the 90s or so when Sally, you and I first came out of university. Social model is most definitely the recognised way forward, and it really embraces investment and innovation in the people that we support. Flick, next slide, please. This is too much information on this slide, but a very well designed, well mapped out first 12 months for the new graduate program. They are ongoing positions. As you can see tonight with Gemma and Kelly, the magic really happens even after your new graduate year when you can consolidate all of those skills. So year one is about building skills, building confidence. I almost say it's a little bit like being on your L plates or your P plates. We treat it almost like that 5th year of university or that 3rd year if you've done a master's, really supporting you through. We want you to be the Sally Smith, be here for 30 years, not for 3. And that's going to be really important in establishing longevity in your career. So this year is really, really important to do some due diligence in. Next slide, we are going to just move through these, but jump on our website, have a quick look about what the Flying Start program can look like. But you're going to make mistakes, guys, and that's okay. In fact, it's expected and it's wanted. If you don't make a few, you're probably not pushing at your edges enough. So we're going to really acknowledge that you're still learning and that you need support. But that's irrelevant whether you're 1st year, 5th year, 10th year, 20 year. Everybody should be really taking the opportunities that I think the Australian population is handing over to us, saying, make this work for us. The whole world is watching how Australia delivers the NDIS. We actually have the opportunity to make global change. So that's something we are very passionate about. But your 12 months will be structured, but it feeds into a much bigger opportunity and entity. So the next slide, please, Flick. People often ask, well, what does it look like? This is all on our website, but we do look at everyday wellbeing. We look at everyday growth and everyday flexibility. If we can support you to be psychologically safe, mentally well, growing and learning and developing, we actually know you're going to be more successful in your role. And that's great for participants, and that's great for our business and our organisation. We also, on the next slide, probably showcase for you that there are, again, remuneration packages. Cost of living is a bit crazy at the moment, guys. This is a really important question to be asking when you're interviewing. And we've got a number of ways that you can actually stack your salary. So you have a base salary, but then there are different opportunities that you can lean into and that we can reward and incentivize you. So again, like the learning, different people have different financial goals in that first year and in years to come. Some people are saving for a house. Some people are saving for a holiday. Other people are saying, I just want to lean in and really maximize this learning opportunity. I truly believe that if you go to career coaching, you can probably do all 3, but we will work with you individually to understand what is important to you and obviously reward you for that as well. I think the next slide might be Hub Life. No, it's wellbeing and inclusion. So we have wellbeing and inclusion, and let's jump forward to the next slide as well, Flick, and Hub Life. So we mentioned earlier on that we need to be someone, we need to belong somewhere, and we're keen on becoming somebody. And our wellbeing and inclusion calendar really looks at that. Diversity and inclusion is very important across the spectrum, not just in terms of disability, but Hub Life is also really important. So Wednesdays in particular are pretty exciting at Everyday Independence. To work at Everyday Independence, you must work a Wednesday. That's when our teams all really come together. But there's a hive of activity throughout the week as you're accessing your mentors, your team leaders, communities of practice, career coaching, and all of these other things. And we see some pretty heavy things in our work. I will say that, you know, we've been quite upbeat tonight, but we do see families in crisis. We do see people in their most vulnerable situations, and the way that we can, you know, really mitigate against continuing to do that is to have some fun, is to look out for each other. So it's about getting that sort of beautiful, it's not even balance, it's just a big, messy, everything together, that we support each other, we have fun, we have a laugh, and you support people to, you know, really create a quality of life for themselves, whether you're an employee or a participant. So we don't get it right every day, but we work really hard to do that. And Hub Life is critical, a critical wellbeing protective factor for all of us. Next slide, please, Flick, which is the final slide for this evening. And thank you to everybody that stayed with us. We've had a really great amount of people stay on the call tonight. If you want to find out more about working at Everyday Independence, we don't really mind what channel you use. There's a number that you can call. There's a careers email here. Jump on our website. We've got lots and lots of information there, and you can also apply online. If you're not wanting to apply, but you want to know more, you can actually book in with me for a 15 or a 30-minute power call, and we can discuss what a career might look like for you at Everyday Independence. You're very, very welcome to do that, and we're going to pop that in the chat. We also have a YouTube channel which you can search up. I always find the YouTube channel. Please look at our Habit Coach video on there. That's often really great at showcasing what we do, and there's a number of other videos on there that will give you more of an insight to what we do at Everyday Independence as well. But we want to find change makers. So you will have seen from Sally, Kelly and Gemma tonight that, yes, they are awesome practitioners. There's no doubt about that. But I think what gives them the edge is there's a little bit of activist in all of us. There's this deep passion to create opportunities for our community to really live this why, which is to be global leaders for inclusion. We often say on any given day, it's quite incredible that we get paid to then go out and, you know, live a life with such purpose. So we can create a life for ourselves, but also impact the lives of others. And that's certainly not something that's wasted on me. And I'm going to speak on behalf of the panel as well, because I sense their passion when I speak to them as well. So a huge thank you to people that joined us this evening, to Esther and Flick that also supported the event, Sally, Gemma, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. I am going to ask you for just a little bit more of your time. We're going to stay on for any questions that you might have. So for our audience, pop them in the chat, or please pop your camera on and shout out to us. But thank you very much for joining us this evening. Okay, let's see.
Hello.
Nothing in the chat. Thanks, Brendan. You're very welcome. Please don't be shy.
Sanaz, did you have a question?
Hello, yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we
hear you.
can.
Yes.
Fire away.
Hi, yeah, so I'm just driving, and that's because of the Bluetooth of my car.
That's okay, Sanaz. I can hear you.
Yeah, so currently I'm a student of the University of Sydney, and I'm doing Master of Special Education. I have a linguistic background as well. I studied Master of Linguistics also. And so I'm working on the AAC app as my project, and I'm eager to become a speech pathologist as well.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like a pretty awesome career pathway.
Yeah. So the only issue that I have is that I don't know which university do I need to apply for, because a couple of universities that I approached, they said that the intake for 2024 is just closed. So I'm right now in Sydney. So that's the reason that I just attended this nice webinar, that fruitful webinar. I wanted to just discuss this issue with you, if makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Sanaz, it's cutting in and out a little bit, but I can probably start with that. We don't have any influence over university admission systems or protocols. Really, if you're not a year 12 exit, which you're not, you really do need to go direct to universities, and Google is probably your best friend for that. But what I can say in terms of everyday independence, what we do is we do have undergraduates or certainly people with your skills that can still come and work for us. Habit coach is one thing that springs to mind, but there may be other opportunities in terms of some other, I don't know enough about your particular course, but it may be disability practitioner or some other opportunities as well. So I think
right now I'm working with NDIS. Right now I'm a support worker and I'm just doing independently as well, just to learn more, especially on the autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah. So I think I know you're driving, but if you can access this or jump on the Everyday Independence website, book in with me. I have a Calendly link. Sure. And we can talk through more specifically what some of the opportunities might be here. And I can give you any insights into any universities that I know about as well.
Could I just chop in as well?
Yes,
from a
Kelly,
speechy
please.
to a speechy to be. I am actually an international student then. Coming in here, I had to make sure that the universities in Australia, to be a speech pathologist, you need to make sure they're accredited. So to be a speech pathologist in Australia as well, you have to be with Speech Pathology Australia, SPA, as we call it. So making sure that the universities that provide the course are accredited and they are recognized by SPA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but in addition to what Ingrid has said as well, being a habit coach, being even a key worker or disability practitioner, you do get to work with speechies, physios, and OTs to get to understand the role more as well and to get experience, for example. Yeah. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Very helpful. I learnt more. I learnt more as well. I think that accreditation piece, Kelly, is really, really important. Absolutely. Thanks, Sanaz. Anybody else got? You're very, very welcome. Now I've got Brendan here. I got into OT through first enrolling into a Bachelor of Science and taking some OT courses. Do well in those and transfer. So I think that might be a statement, Brendan. That is awesome, and we definitely do hear of people coming through those pathways. Gemma's nodding. I don't know, Gemma, do you have anything else to add? But no. So, Brendan, but again, if you want to chat to us, Habit Coach is often a really great pathway for people that are planning to be an OT, physio, speech, behaviour support practitioner. We'd love to speak to you about our Habit Coach program. Essentially, you are an assistant to the OTs, the physios and the speechies, but it's more than that. You're supporting people to build habits and skills and routines.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I spoke to Flick on the on one of the career event days recently, and she mentioned that to me. I was just kind of like mentioning that pathway for Sanaz because it sounds like she's trying to get into speech pathology, and I thought if she's trying to get in there, it could be an option for her. I don't know if she can still hear that, but coming into it as a mature age student, I found that an easier way than trying to, sort of enter in through other pathways, like just directly into OT because it's such a high ATAR.
Yeah, it's such great advice. And it's so great to see other gateways opening up for people as well, because it's not always the best scores that make the best practitioners. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
And come and work with us, Brendan. Sounds like you're pretty clear on what you want to do. So happy to support you. Anybody else have any questions?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes. Hi there.
Yep. So hi, I'm Carol and I'm a fourth year physio student. I'm just wondering, like for the pay, Because first year, I know a lot of people say about like the flexible timetable, and you can create your own like workloads and everything. So would it be like a commission based or like a salary packet kind of thing? So yeah, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. No, so it's certainly not commission based. You have a base salary and you are paid by the hour. What people often say in terms of the flexibility and the autonomy is that you can choose how you really utilize your day. So some people like to start really early, other people like to start late. If I give you perhaps an example, we have a member of our team that is a women's AFL football player. So she needs to be at training on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I think it is. So she finishes up at 3 o'clock on those days. So she's able to flexibly work around other life occupations that she has. So we do encourage graduates to be full-time, but they certainly don't need to be. I do think probably 4 days is anything less than 4 days is hard to really establish that learning. But no, you have a base salary. But you can then add to your salary if you want to do some additional things within your role. It's still within your working hours, but within your role. Does that answer the question?
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. We have got somebody typing
Hello.
away. Hi there.
Hey, I am a doctor of physiotherapy student at Monash. So I
Yes.
actually have a mid-year finish next year. Does the graduate program only start at the beginning of the year, or is there options like throughout the year as well?
We start our graduate program 11 times in the year, so every month except December. So we know that people have had variety of reasons why they're graduating at different times, with placement blowouts, wanting to have a bit of a break before they start work. So no, our graduate program is rolling and we welcome graduates every month of the year except December.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, a huge thank you. Please, if anybody has got another question, I will stay on for a little bit longer, but I am going to say thank you to my team, or our team, I should say, for this evening. Gemma, Kelly, Sally, thank you so much for the time that you put into the presentation this evening. Esther, Flick, behind the scenes. I know all of the work that you do so we can show up tonight and showcase what we do at Everyday Independence. So a huge thank you. I'll stay online. We do have another event tomorrow evening for anybody that is interested. We're looking at clinical career pathways it's not a new graduate event, it's for more experienced clinicians, but you're very welcome to join as well if you would like. You'll again find that on our socials and on our LinkedIn and our website. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, Ingrid. Bye.
Thanks, Ingrid. See you.
Thanks for having us.
See you.